The stars over Neptune burned cold and distant, their light trembling against the black maw of the rift gate. It hung there like a wound in space, rippling with violet and blue fire, ready to swallow 400 human ships and a century of desperate ambition. On the bridge of the UHS Resolute, Captain Mara Ilias stood perfectly still. Her hands were clasped behind her back, her posture disciplined to the point of stillness. But her reflection in the viewport betrayed a flicker of unease. She had commanded through pirate raids, border wars, and mutinies, but this was different. This was history, or perhaps suicide, depending on how charitable the universe felt today. "Telemetry holding," reported Dr. Felix Crane, his voice half lost in the chaos of sensors chirping and data streams cascading across his console. Although, he added, squinting at a flickering graph, the rift's quantum amplitude just twitched again, so technically the universe might have changed its mind about existing. "Put that on the list of things I can't control," Mara replied dryly. "How's the fleet?" "Anxious," came Lieutenant Nia, Ortega's softer voice from communications. She was young, but carried herself like someone born to listen. You can hear it in the chatter. They're pretending they're not terrified, but they are. "That's the correct emotional setting for today," Mara said. "Keep it that way." From the weapons pit, Chief Gunner Rafe Bennett barked a laugh. "Hell, I'm excited. When else do you get to jump a fleet into the mouth of cosmic insanity? Beats patrol duty." "Rafe," Mara said without turning, "if we die because you taunt the void, I'll haunt you." "Permission to be haunted, ma'am." Felix groaned. "Why does every mission start like a bad comedy routine?" "Because we're human," Mara said simply. "It's how we survive." Outside, the rift swelled, an impossible storm of light and distortion. Humanity's last card in the game the rest of the galaxy had already lost. For 200 years, the Threx Dominion, the Ilari Concord, and the Machinist Swarm had turned half the Milky Way into a graveyard. Planets shattered, suns dimmed, and civilizations erased themselves in recursive retaliation. Humanity had watched, small and silent, tucked behind Sol's modest defenses, pretending neutrality while preparing something reckless. The Rift Drive was that recklessness given form, a technology born from desperation, patched together by engineers, dreamers, and lunatics who decided that bending reality was easier than surrendering it. Felix still wasn't sure how it worked. He had equations, yes, and simulations that sometimes didn't end in catastrophic paradox. But deep down, he knew the Rift wasn't a drive, it was a dare. "The Dominion fleet broke through Sigma 9 yesterday," Nia said, breaking the silence. "Their gravitic lances hit the Ilari core worlds. Billions dead." Mara nodded. "And they'll be here next. Earth won't survive that kind of war." Rafe leaned back in his seat, boots up, grin fading. "So we go through the rift, hit them where it hurts, and hope we don't pop out inside a star. Sounds fair." "Hope," Felix muttered, "is not a navigational constant. It's the only one we've got," Mara said. She turned toward the crew, her expression calm, voice steady. "Listen up. This isn't just a strike mission. The rift could put us anywhere, across the galaxy, across time. We go because no one else can. Humanity survived by improvising, adapting, creating solutions no sane species would try. If the rest of the galaxy forgot that, we'll remind them." Her words settled into the air like the hum of engines before a storm. The crew didn't cheer. They nodded, grim and resolute. They understood what kind of faith it took to walk into the impossible. Felix adjusted his glasses, which somehow remained a thing in the 23rd century. "Captain, if I may, statistically speaking, the odds of a successful rift traversal for the entire fleet are—" "Not relevant," Mara interrupted. "Plot us in." He hesitated. "You know, there's a 50% chance we won't even recognize the universe we arrive in." "Then we'll make a new one," Rafe said, cocking a grin. "Preferably with fewer Threx in it," Nia murmured. Felix sighed. "I signed up for physics, not philosophy." "You signed up for humanity," Mara said. "And that's the same thing." The bridge fell into a ritual quiet. Across the fleet, ships aligned in shimmering formation. Carriers, cruisers, supply barges, and the proud, ugly silhouettes of the Resolute sister vessels. Engines flared, blue fire against the void. A low vibration pulsed through the hull. The rift gate opened wider, reality bending inward like fabric drawn aflame. Felix's console screamed in protest. Containment fields destabilizing. Quantum cohesion at 60%. Hold it, Mara ordered. Her tone didn't rise. It never did. Outside, the stars seemed to melt. The rift shimmered, hungry. For a moment, the universe itself appeared to inhale. All ships, Mara said into the calm. This is Captain Ilias of the Resolute. Humanity has spent its existence adapting to the impossible. Today, we go beyond that. We're not fighting for survival. We're fighting for definition. Engage rift sequence. Here we go, Rafe whispered. He tightened his harness, grinning like a man at the edge of a cliff. Nia closed her eyes, lips moving in silent prayer or maybe a poem. For all we've lost, she murmured, and all we might find. Felix's hands flew across the console, synchronizing fleet. 3, 2, 1. The rift swallowed them whole. There was no sensation of movement, only a wrenching discontinuity. The feeling of being erased and rewritten simultaneously. The bridge lights warped through impossible colors. Sound vanished. For an instant, Mara thought she could see her own thoughts reflected in the light. Then silence. When awareness returned, the Resolute's alarms were dead. The stars outside looked wrong. Too close, too still. Felix gasped. Captain, I don't think we moved through space. Mara steadied herself. Then where are we? Rafe glanced at the viewport, eyes wide. You might want to see this. Outside, the galaxy burned, frozen in mid-battle. Alien fleets hung motionless, plasma bolts suspended mid-flight, debris hanging like scattered jewels in amber. Nia whispered, awestruck, "They're not moving. None of them." Felix's voice trembled. "We didn't jump across space. We jumped out of time." Mara's jaw tightened as she stared into the stillness. "Then maybe," she said softly, "we finally have time to fix it." The hum of the rift faded to nothing. Beyond the viewport, the galaxy waited, silent, expectant. Silence had never felt so loud. Every sensor aboard the UHS Resolute displayed the same impossible truth. Nothing moved. The stars outside gleamed like scattered glass. Entire armadas of alien warships, Threx, Ilari, and Machinist, hung suspended in a tableau of destruction. Energy beams were frozen mid-discharge. Curved arcs of light halted in airless space. It was as if the universe had been paused between breaths. Captain Mara Ilias stood at the viewport, her reflection fractured by distant debris. "Report," she said quietly. Dr. Felix Crane was already typing furiously, his console projecting a storm of holographic data. Chronometric flux is 0. No measurable flow of time in or out of this sector. We are stationary in causality. Rafe Bennett frowned. "You mean we broke the clock?" Felix didn't look up. "We didn't just break it. We fell off the dial." Lieutenant Nia Ortega's voice was almost reverent. "Captain, the alien ships, some are half destroyed, some mid-fire. They were fighting when everything stopped." Mara nodded slowly. "Then we're standing in the middle of a frozen war." Felix ran a trembling hand through his hair. "This shouldn't be possible. Not just technologically, philosophically. We're not supposed to observe a static quantum state. Yet here we are," Rafe said. "Congratulations, Doc. You've officially outdone science." "Please don't congratulate me. I'm trying to make sure we didn't accidentally delete time." "Deleted time," Rafe said thoughtfully, "adds a certain flair to the mission report." Mara cut through their exchange. "Enough. I need answers. How long can the fleet sustain this condition?" Felix hesitated. "Our internal systems are stable, but the rift field is degrading. We have, at most, 2 hours before it collapses. After that, reality will decide what to do with us." Meaning we might resume time normally or be atomized across 10 billion parallel probabilities. I'm working on narrowing it down. Mara's gaze never left the frozen battlefield. Hundreds of ships, predators, saints, machines, locked in their last moments. A galaxy paused at the brink of extinction. Nia's voice broke the silence. Maybe this is our chance. Mara turned. Explain. If we can interact while everything else is frozen, Nia said, stepping forward, we can change the outcome, disable weapons, pull ships apart, even rescue survivors before the timeline resumes. Rafe snorted. You want to play galactic janitor in a stop clock? She met his look evenly. I want to stop the killing. Isn't that why we came? Rafe leaned back, smirking, but his eyes softened. You got too much hope for someone who's seen war. It's not hope, Nia replied. It's responsibility. Mara watched them both, silent for a moment. Felix, can we move? He blinked. Technically, yes. The rift field surrounds a fleet in a self-contained bubble. We can maneuver within the pause frame, but any large disturbance could collapse it. So, Rafe said, we can move, just not enough to survive if anything goes wrong. Fantastic. Felix spread his hands. Welcome to theoretical physics in practice. Mara considered the impossible stillness outside. Prepare a scout wing. I want to see what's frozen out there. Minutes later, 2 frigates drifted from formation, gliding through the motionless debris. The visual feed streamed onto the Resolute's main display. The alien vessels were magnificent even in ruin. Threx dreadnoughts like living coral, Ilari spires woven from crystal and light, machinist constructs bristling with machinery that shimmered like insect carapace. The camera zoomed on a Threx warship, hundreds of soldiers locked mid-stride, faces contorted in silent fury. Plasma bolts hovered centimeters from impact. Each figure was trapped in a single heartbeat of war. Nia's voice dropped to a whisper. They were killing each other right until the last nanosecond. Looks like we hit pause at the universe's worst moment, Rafe muttered. Felix's data streams flickered. Wait, something's wrong. Quantum harmonics are shifting, the field stabilizing on one axis. In English, Mara said, it's not permanent. Whatever we did, the effect is decaying. The rest of the galaxy is starting to... A deep vibration trembled through the hull. Outside, a beam of energy shimmered, then moved, just a fraction an inch, but enough to make everyone freeze. Resume? Felix finished grimly. Mara turned to him. How long? At this rate? Minutes. Maybe less. Nia frowned. Can we control it? Felix hesitated, then straightened. Maybe, if we can modulate the rift generator, we could anchor ourselves at the edge of probability, surfing the collapse instead of being crushed by it. Rafe grinned. So we ride the end of time like a wave. I like it. Felix sighed. You wouldn't if you understood it. I like not understanding it, Rafe said. Keeps life interesting. Mara cut in. Can it be done? Felix met her eyes. Yes, but it'll take all our energy reserves, and if I miscalculate, the fleet won't re-enter time. It'll scatter across alternate realities. Then don't miscalculate, she said simply. He blinked. No pressure, then. Nia stepped forward. Captain, if we can anchor ourselves, maybe we can choose where and when to re-enter. We could stop the war before it reaches Sol. Mara considered her words. Or drop into the middle of it. Or after it. Felix added quietly. For all we know, we already lost. The thought hung in the air like static. Mara turned back to the viewport. The frozen battlefield flickered again, barely perceptible but unmistakable. Time was bleeding back into motion. Soon the galaxy would resume killing itself. She took a long breath. Felix, begin anchor preparations. Nia, broadcast a wide-range signal, something that marks our presence when time resumes. Make it clear we come in peace. Rafe raised an eyebrow. Peace? You think anyone's going to buy that after watching us tear a hole in reality? Then make sure they're too impressed to shoot, Mara said. Felix was already typing, muttering equations under his breath. Nia adjusted frequencies, sending a cascade of soundless transmissions rippling to the pause vacuum. Rafe stood ready at the weapons station, hands flexing, waiting for something, anything, to move. A low hum filled the air. The rift generator's pulse deepened, resonating through the hull like a heartbeat. The display screens flickered, distorting around Felix's code. Anchor point locked, he said. We can ride the collapse. Mara nodded. Do it. Light bent. The frozen battlefield shimmered as though seen through water. The alien fleets began to blur, motion bleeding back into their forms. Plasma fire resumed in slow motion, ships crawling toward destruction. Humanity's fleet drifted untouched amid the chaos, unseen, spectators of the apocalypse. Captain, Felix whispered, if this works, we'll re-enter just ahead of the next event horizon in time-space. And if it doesn't? Rafe asked. Felix gave a thin smile. Then we'll find out how it feels to exist as a metaphor. Rafe cracked his knuckles. Been called worse. The rift core flared, white light pouring across the bridge. Mara closed her eyes, steady amid the storm. Humanity, she murmured. Adapt. The universe shuddered. A thunderous silence fell, and the stars began to move again. The universe came back screaming. Light and motion slammed into existence as the rift field collapsed. On the UHS Resolute's bridge, alarms flared, red strobes slicing through the haze. The ship bucked under invisible pressure, metal groaning, as if the cosmos itself resented their return. Report. Captain Mara Ilias shouted, gripping the command rail. Felix Crane was already hunched over his console, fingers blurring. We re-entered at the edge of the Ilari system. Coordinates uncertain. Time flow normalized. And, every alien fleet in the sector just noticed us. Outside, the view screen filled with chaos. Hundreds of warships, Ilari crystalline cruisers, Threx living dreadnoughts, and the mechanical hives of the machinist swarm, surrounded the human formation like predators circling a wounded animal. Space itself shimmered with the heat of their weapons. Nia Ortega whispered, they think we're another faction. Then we're the worst timed surprise in history, Rafe Bennett muttered, strapping into the gunner's harness. Permission to panic, ma'am? Denied, Mara said. Felix, can you stabilize shields? Define stabilize. We're barely holding dimensional cohesion. The rift drive's still hot, and reality hates us. Rafe grinned through the tension. So business as usual. A proximity alarm screamed as a Threx cruiser locked on. Blue plasma bolts tore through the void, hammering the Resolute shields. The deck lurched. Shields at 60. Felix yelled, that's as good as it gets unless I rewrite physics again. Then start writing, Mara said. The alien armadas began to move, not toward each other now, but toward the human fleet. Whatever piece the rift's paws had offered was gone. Instinct had reawakened. War resumed. They're all targeting us, Nia said, voice shaking. Even enemies are coordinating. They think we're the weapon that froze them. Rafe barked a laugh. For once, they're not wrong. Mara's jaw tightened. We can't win a fight like this. We need a trick. Felix froze mid-gesture. His eyes darted toward the rift core schematics, glowing with unstable energy patterns. Maybe we don't have to fight. Rafe raised an eyebrow. That's not your usual survival plan. No, listen. Felix's hands danced through projections. The rift field still echoes probability distortions. If I can amplify those echoes, I might project versions of us across nearby timelines. Phantoms, duplicates, possibilities. To them, it'll look like humanity commands 1,000 fleets. Nia's eyes widened. A bluff. Exactly, Felix said. The greatest bluff in the history of causality. Mara nodded slowly. Do it, and make it convincing. Felix blinked. Captain, I'm serious. This could destabilize reality even worse. We might fracture our own existence. Then pick the version where we survive, she said. The bridge became a storm of motion. Felix rerouted power from auxiliary systems, siphoning every water reactor output into the rift core. The ship thrummed with unstable energy, the hum deep enough to rattle teeth. Nia managed the comm arrays, linking every ship in the fleet to synchronize output. Rafe watched his displays flicker. If this thing goes off, what happens? Felix's grin was manic. Everything. Everywhere. At once. Great, Rafe said. I'll get snacks. Nia looked to Mara. Captain, if the illusion works, we need to reinforce it. Words can make a lie real. Mara nodded. Broadcast message. Her voice carried across the void. transmitted on every frequency, every tongue. This is Captain Mara Ilias of the Terran Rift Fleet. We came through the storm not to destroy, but to end the cycle. The next move you make decides whether you face extinction or evolution. Her words rolled through the commnet like thunder. Felix hit the final command. Activating probability resonance in 3, 2, 1. Space fractured. The human fleet multiplied, expanding like reflections in shattered glass. Thousands of Resolutes filled the system, each a ripple of light and shadow. Alien sensors screamed under the overload. To every species watching, it appeared as if humanity had arrived with an armada vast enough to blot out the stars. "Holy hell," Rafe whispered. "We look like gods." Nia's comms erupted with panicked alien chatter. Translated fragments of disbelief. "They're calling us the Riftborn. Some think we're time spirits. Others think we're a weapon. Let them think what they want," Mara said, "so long as they stop shooting." For a heartbeat, it worked. The alien fleets held fire, paralyzed by the impossible. Then the machinist swarm adapted. Cold machine logic sliced through fear. Dozens of their vessels powered weapons and fired, beams of searing energy lancing through the illusion. The false fleets flickered, destabilizing. Felix cursed. "They're learning it's a trick." Rafe's grin returned. "Guess we'd better make the trick explode." "Don't you dare," Felix began. Too late. Rafe slammed the control. The Resolute's railguns realigned, channeling rift residue into their magnetic coils. A blinding arc of light shot outward, not a weapon, but a surge of raw probability. Every Phantom fleet followed suit, multiplying the burst until the system glowed like dawn. The machinist targeting systems overloaded, their ships powered down, systems shorted by paradox. The Threx and Alari, caught between fear and awe, withdrew formation. Mara turned to Felix. "Can we sustain the illusion?" "Barely. The rift core is overheating. We have maybe 1 minute before containment fails." "Then let's make that minute count," Mara said. "Nia," send the message again. Stronger. Nia's fingers danced across her console, voice steady though her hands trembled. "To every fleet, every commander, every mind that still hears, stop. The rift has shown us what happens when time itself gives up. Choose life, choose creation, or lose both." The words resonated, amplified by the rift distortion. Across the alien networks, static turned into silence. Felix's instruments wailed. "Containment breach in 20 seconds. "Rafe," Mara called. "Still here, still handsome," he replied. "But our guns are about to melt." "Then brace," Mara said. The rift core imploded, collapsing into a singular pulse of white. The wave spread across the system, stripping energy from every weapon, draining fire from every engine. Alien ships flickered, shields dying, weapons dimming, then went dark. The light faded. Silence returned. Felix sagged against his console, breathing hard. We didn't die. Yet, Rafe said cheerfully. Neil looked up, eyes wide. "Captain, look." On the viewport, alien vessels floated motionless, but not frozen this time. Power signatures steady. Weapons cold. Across the comms, Nia translated incoming transmissions, hesitant, uncertain, but unmistakable. "They're asking what we want," she said softly. Mara exhaled. Finally, the right question. She turned to her crew, each face illuminated by the faint glow of the rift still fading behind them. Felix, disheveled genius. Nia, dreamer and diplomat. Rafe, reckless chaos. Together, somehow, they convinced the galaxy to stop killing, if only to understand what humanity had become. "Send our answer," Mara said. Nia nodded, typing quickly. "And what should I say?" "Tell them," Mara said. "We came to talk." The bridge fell quiet except for the fading hum of the rift. Outside, the once raging armadas now drifted in uneasy peace, the impossible human fleet still shimmering like ghosts of potential futures. Rafe leaned back, a tired grin creeping across his face. The rift pulsed once more, softly this time, like the afterbeat of a fading heart. Every light aboard the UHS Resolute dimmed, then steadied. The alarms were gone. The silence that followed felt different, not empty, but listening. Dr. Felix Crane leaned back in his chair, sweat drying on his brow. If the universe has an opinion about us, I'd say we've earned a mixed review. Captain Mara Ilias exhaled slowly. Status? Stable, Felix said. No more rift distortions. No exploding timelines. We appear to exist in exactly one reality for now. Rafe Bennett, still at the gunnery console, cracked his knuckles. And all those fleets out there? Still not shooting. Still not shooting. Nia Ortega confirmed, scanning her comms array. Her voice trembled slightly, though her face stayed calm. They're waiting, Captain. Some transmissions are reverent. Others are terrified. A few are just confused. Rafe grinned. That's the standard human effect. Felix groaned. I can't believe we just weaponized existential dread. You can and you will, Mara said. She turned to the viewport. The alien armadas, Ilari spires, Threx organic fortresses, machinist hives, now floated at measured distances, still surrounded by the fading shimmer the illusion Felix had crafted. The false human fleets had dissipated, leaving only 400 real ships drifting amid the wreckage of what had been a centuries-long war. The galaxy was quiet. For the first time in generations, quiet. Hours passed before the first contact came through. The comms display bloomed with alien glyphs, translated into words that felt both foreign and fragile. Who are you? Mara nodded to Nia. Answer them. Nia hesitated only a moment before transmitting. We are humanity. We came through the rift. What do you want? Mara considered that carefully. A chance to begin again. Static answered. Then, unexpectedly, laughter, a strange, harmonic tone that belonged to no human throat. The Ilari emissary's face appeared next. Translucent skin, eyes like refracted crystal. You stopped the fire. No one has done that in 1,000 cycles. Felix muttered under his breath. We didn't stop it. We just confused it long enough for everyone to blink. Rafe elbowed him. Never underestimate the power of confusion. The Ilari emissary continued. The Threx and machinists have agreed to meet. Here, with you. Nia's eyes widened. They're calling for a truce. On our ship. Mara allowed herself the faintest smile. Then we'll host it. Humanity's first interstellar peace conference. Make the preparations. The following day, the Resolute became neutral ground. Its corridors were scrubbed and sterilized. The flag of Earth displayed beside a dozen improvised banners from alien vessels. Soldiers stood guard beside emissaries who once swore to annihilate one another. It was imperfect, awkward, and miraculous. Felix wore his formal uniform, though he had to tape one sleeve shut after a coolant leak. I feel underdressed for the end of Galactic War, he murmured. You're dressed fine, Nia said, smoothing the front of her jacket. You look like the species that stopped time and bluffed its way into history. Rafe adjusted his sidearm. Still think we should have brought snacks. Peace talks always need snacks. Mara ignored the chatter. She stood at the head of the conference table, facing beings of light, carapace, and metal. Their languages echoed through translators, blending into something almost melodic. The war ended, she began, her tone deliberate, because we all saw what happens when time runs out. We can rebuild the galaxy, or repeat the mistake until there's nothing left to rebuild. The machinist delegate, a silver construct of shifting panels, spoke in a voice like static rain. We do not understand your rift. It should not exist. Felix gave a small, self-deprecating shrug. Neither should we. That drew a ripple of alien curiosity. The Threx general, a creature of sinew and luminous bone, tilted his head. You fought none of us, yet we yield. Explain this paradox. Mara met his gaze. We didn't win a war. We ended it by refusing to play. Nia added quietly. That's what makes us human. We don't conquer, we improvise. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then the Ilari emissary extended a hand made of light. Slowly, deliberately, Mara took it. And just like that, the galaxy began again. Later, the 4 crew members stood on the Resolute's observation deck, watching the alien fleets drift apart peacefully, each heading home under the new treaty. The stars looked different now, calmer, as if relieved. Rafe was the first to break the quiet. So, Captain, we just united a galaxy by accident. What do we do for an encore? Felix groaned. Maybe not rupture the space-time continuum? Boring, Rafe said. Nia smiled faintly. We could teach. Share what we know. Build something better than fear. Felix gave her a sideways look. That's dangerously optimistic. It's how we got here, she replied. Mara watched the receding fleets, her reflection superimposed over the stars. The rift gave us a glimpse of everything we could be, every version of humanity that ever might exist. Maybe it showed the galaxy that, too. Rafe chuckled. So, the universe hit pause just to make us talk to each other? Felix grinned weakly. If that's not cosmic irony, I don't know what is. Nia turned to the captain. What happens to the rift now? Mara was silent for a moment. It's still there, somewhere, maybe waiting, maybe watching. Felix frowned. You think it's conscious? I think, Mara said slowly, it reflects us. Chaos, creation, choice. She looked at her crew, the scientist who defied logic, the dreamer who believed in peace, the wild card who laughed at death, and she smiled. Humanity's greatest weapon was never the rift, she said. It was the people who dared to step through it. A soft chime interrupted them. An incoming transmission. Nia checked the display. It's from Earth Command. They want a report. Rafe laughed. What do we tell them? Felix rubbed his temples. Dear Earth, we saved the galaxy, broke causality, and started interspecies diplomacy. P.S. Send coffee. Mara shook her head, amused. Tell them the truth. Nia grinned. Which part? All of it, Mara said. They deserve to know what we're capable of. She turned back to the stars. Because if we ever forget how far we can reach, we'll stop trying. The viewport shimmered as the last remnants of the rift glowed faintly in the distance, like a scar healing, or perhaps a door still ajar. Rafe squinted. Think it's calling us back? Felix paled. Please say no. Mara smiled. Maybe one day, but not today. Nia nodded. Today we rest. For a long time, none of them spoke. They simply stood together, four humans against the infinite, watching the galaxy learn to breathe again. Mara finally broke the silence, her voice quiet but certain. When humanity's fleet burst from the rift, the war ended in seconds, because sometimes the universe doesn't need another weapon. It just needs someone brave enough to try something impossible. The stars burned brighter, as if in agreement.